This is 39. Every year on the podcast, I share a little bit about reflecting on the year around my birthday time, but also a lot of lessons to inspire you, to make you feel good, because that is the whole purpose of this podcast. So I'm going to share in my 39 years of wisdom. Not 39 lessons because that would take forever, but a lot of things that I have learned in this year and in general to help maybe make you feel more at peace in your life, more excited, and more healed. And so, what I want to do in this podcast is it's definitely a tone of get excited. There's a lot of years of excitement for you. And it's also, I want to share kind of behind the scenes though, of this year has probably been the most challenging that I have had in a long time emotionally, mentally, even physically. So this is a journey. Buckle up. A little bit of a reflection. It's like you're going to read my diary, but I'm talking to you here. And my hope is that when you hear this, it inspires you. It gives you something to think about. And it's also a very real look at how things can seem to go so well in life on the outside, but they can really be struggling on the inside. So I'm going to give you a peek into all of that. The last part of this year has been a process of letting go of the ideas that I had of the way things should be, of letting go of this wild notion that success equals happiness. It doesn't. And letting go of fears of what's going to happen to me and trying to control every aspect of it. This year of 38 to 39 was one of the hardest since the pandemic. And it was really challenging because I was also coming off of the best year of my life. I don't know if you've had that before where you have just an amazing year and then the next year is total crap. I don't want to say total crap, right? We're going to set a tone here. But to give you perspective here, I opened January 2023 walking down the beach in Rio, Brazil with my husband. Super warm. I'm in a little like sundress skirt shorts thing. And then there was a bloco, so a group of musicians walking us back to our home essentially because we were on the same road. And that was the beginning of 2023. And it just felt amazing. It was a time where I actually woke up and I felt like this is my life and I can't imagine doing anything different. I can't imagine being paid to even do anything different. This is incredible. At the same time, that year was probably not really the best for my business. That was a really big shift for me. So even thinking about now that I always thought as a super achiever, some of you will relate to this, that when you have what you want in life, success wise, then you will be happy. And we know that's not true objectively, but we feel that in our bones. We feel that because then we'll have security, then we'll have validation, then we'll have purpose. And so I was really shocked to see that in the year where my business was pretty meh, I really wasn't doing that much with it, was the year that I was the happiest, that the two were not tied together at all. And that was such a big eye opening moment of really your success can dovetail with your fulfillment, but it doesn't necessarily need to. So that was that year. And then this year started pretty difficult. So the birthday was super fun. I had a unicorn cake. The person making it probably thought it was for a 5-year-old, but it was for a 38-year-old. And they came out singing with this big unicorn head cake with tons of frosting of different colors. It was an amazing experience. January came. I got the most ill that I've been in a really long time. This is when the whole thing happened that I lost my voice for 3 months. So, because of a complication with a vocal disorder caused by, we don't know, could have been caused by illness, could have been caused by bacteria. No one knows still. I had my vocal cords tighten up and swell to the point that I couldn't speak without pain. And so I started this year of 38 extremely upset because I had this medical condition, but also on top of that, this nomading dream was coming to an end because we had decided that we were going to go move to Portugal and stay in one place. So there was this sadness of the adventure ending And then there was also this medical condition that effectively stopped me from really working. I couldn't speak. My whole job is speaking. And it made me reflect on a lot of things too, because, when you can't speak, it's very hard to go and meet people socially. I had one friend, if you're listening, I admire you so much for your patience. I met her and I was literally texting her as we were talking in person because I couldn't speak and I wanted to see her. So it was a lot of those interactions. And, I didn't know sign language. I didn't have any of those kind of means available to me. And I'm just thinking this is supposed to be the year that we set up a base and I start to grow my business and I create all these friendships. And here I am and I can't even speak. During that time, I also lost my voice. I was also set up to be a speaker at an international conference, and that just completely fell through. I think I spoke for 20 minutes and probably no one knew, but I was literally going to that conference every day, trying to speak for 20, 30 minutes, mostly quiet, going home, doing an hour of relaxing my voice, steam inhalations, the works. I had 2 steroid shots because the doctors recommended. I will never do that again, which led to me not sleeping, which led to more issues and disorders. And I spent a month just going to doctors, getting MRI scans, being told that it could be cancer, like super scary shit, right? It gets worse because I'm more stressed out. At one point, one doctor looks down my throat using that camera and he says, "Nothing is wrong with you. Whatever was there is not there anymore." But I could still feel it. And that was probably the lowest point. I remember just bawling, crying because before it was, I had the hope that when I got the proper care, when I did the test, someone would be able to solve this problem. From there, we ended up going to a vocal therapist who recognized that my vocal cords are very closed up because of a side effect of whatever it was, illness, bacteria, and that I should actually be speaking more even through the pain because it's a situation of, for example, if you have surgery, after a certain point of rest, you need to move the leg or the limb. Otherwise, it's going to cause you more pain later. Anyway, this is all to say, like, that year was not it did not start out well. It didn't start out well, and at the same time, I had decided to pivot my business, so I'm frantically trying to introduce a totally new kind of business, so me being in the podcasting world now, teaching how other people to do it, and I can't even speak. It's just a shit show. I don't know how else to say it. It really was. It felt like I don't even know what the hell I'm doing right now because it feels like the universe is completely against me here. And then I continued to do, these throat exercises and I just continued to trust that I'm going to find a way through. So luckily I had pre-recorded I was launching a new podcast, right? And I had pre-recorded, I think 6 months worth of episodes. And thank goodness too, like batch record everything, do everything in advance because you never know when crap like this will happen. And so I had it ready to go and I just trusted that when I reach the end of these 6 months of episodes, I'm going to be okay. I have to be. I had to trust it. Because when you are literally robbed of your voice, you have to find other ways to express yourself. And I have found now this place of contentment where the external world can continue to do what it's going to do, but I am okay. This medical condition continues. I don't know for how long, but I trust it will be okay. And when you do this, when you let go of this need to have everything mean something or have every choice have a direct result you can see. When you let go of that, it's almost like you become a channel to so much more than you imagined. Because when we're trying to control reality and the future and our perspectives, we are dialing in the magic of the world into this narrow little pathway. And there's so much resistance in you trying to do that. And also, you are blocking out all the possibilities of the world. So when I look at being 39, what's for this year? I had the highest amazing year of my life, and then I had a transition year, let's call it. What I want for this year, my birthday affirmation, and I really believe actually birthday resolutions. I think the best time to come up with a resolution really is your birthday. It's celebrating when you came into this world. And for me, I'm just thinking of this now as I speak to you. So even for me, whatever comes out is going to be new. Resolution that I am going to really follow for this year, for my last year of this decade, is to have that inner calm and trust, to always come back to this place of letting the anxiety go, the stress, the future planning, and just trust and maintain this state of peace. Because I have struggled so many years to resist and ram against the world and try to make it do what I wanted. And sometimes there's like a little sporadic success, but it's always resulted in burnout. So I'm going to trust in all that there is. And the funny thing is that I always choose a word for the year for New Year's, actual New Year's, and mine for this year was confiar, which is a Portuguese word and basically means to trust. But it's interesting because from the Latin roots, it's to confide. And it's this idea of believing in whatever, a person, the world. And I think that that even more than the trust is the word still, but now it's my birthday resolution, so it's got to stick. Because I think when initially made it at the beginning of this year, I really thought, oh, confiar, yeah. The thing you forget is that when you're building trust, especially in yourself, it doesn't come without a little bit of darkness and really looking at ways you are stopping that trust from forming. And so I invite you, whether it is your birthday month or birthdays far away, to think about what are some ways that you can find that trust in the process, in yourself. What is something that you've been obsessing about that you can just let go? There's been some really uncanny examples of this that have happened to me even in the last couple months where I've been really stressed out about something. And then I've just fallen into this state of let it be, let's see what happens. I'm not going to hold myself in this state. And then that day, the thing that I was waiting for an answer on happens. It's just a really wild coincidence, let's say, but I really don't believe in those. I think so much so, the biggest lesson, even more perhaps, that I've learned now after 39 years is how much our inner state determines our outer state, how much what we believe, how we feel influences the interactions, the events, and everything around us and how easy it is to keep searching outside when really it's about making that messy journey in. And so you'll see too on this podcast, there's a lot more episodes on healing, on personal growth, because I'm also going through that journey with you. You know, every episode that you listen to that's not just me speaking that has a guest, I'm learning with you. And there's so much that I've uncovered too of, wow, I have been blocking myself so much and this lesson as well of we often think that the problem is the problem, but the problem is our reaction to it. Because any problem can be solved in some way or resolved if you can be in the mental state to do it. If you are not in that state, if you're in one of scarcity and flight and anxiety, it's going to be very impossible for you to move past that state. And I think that most of my life, I have been that way. Now, in the last couple years, we've been nomading, and it's almost like an escape. When you don't have regular everyday problems, you don't go through this stuff. And also, there's always something new. You can always change later. And it's a lot easier to do that when you're changing physical places. But if you can also mentally get into that frame of mind of, it's okay, the next thing is coming, let me continue on, it opens the same joy. It's just harder. We love vacations, we love holidays because it's a fast track to this state of being I'm talking about. It's a lot harder to be in the same physical place and do it. It's also more sustainable because, as you know, the holidays, the travel, it doesn't stay with you. And I met so many people nomading that said and realized that, you know, wherever you go, there you are. So you bring all of your baggage with you, even when you leave, and it does catch up to you. And I have seen that, and perhaps this throat issue was the universe saying, "Guess what? It's time for you to go deep in, and we are going to force you to stop working, to stop distracting yourself with work, and you are not gonna have the travel anymore to distract you because you are going to be in one place, and let's see what comes out." I'm still in that journey. I don't pretend to be on the other side. There are still days that the anxiety really cripples me. Again, this is something I had before we started nomading, but I didn't experiencing it as we were traveling. So it's like going backwards in some ways, but also going forwards because now I can work through it. And honestly, I'm going to be nomading in the future. Let's let's be honest. I'm not going to stop. There will be more of it in the future, but now I can just do it differently and also with a balanced emotional state where it's not about fleeing or hiding, it's about being present. And so this is where, after 39 years, I'm at. It is a very strange thing to say 39 because I don't feel like the maturity is there. I mean, maybe this is just because I don't have kids, but it definitely doesn't feel like being 39. I feel like I'm still 29, but with a bedtime. I don't know if any of you can relate to that. The concept of age is so funny because I think after the age of 30, you start to realize that they are just milestones, but they're not really defining markers. That the age is not anymore the measure of the future. It's the personal growth that matters, and you can grow so much personally in a year that before maybe would have taken 5. So I don't measure it by that anymore, but I will admit that when I see my nieces and nephews shooting up, becoming teenagers, and I remember, I was in my mid-20s when they were born, it definitely is a smack in the face of, wow, it's been a while. I don't it's not that I'm afraid or ashamed at all. I gladly tell people my age. It's more that it's so different than I expected. It's so different because I feel like the age I have, the age I am now was one that I felt was when I would talk to my aunts and uncles that were this age, and I would have been in my teens, thinking how wise they must have been, how adult, how everything was figured out. And yes, that's a different generation, so arguably they are. I'm an older millennial, so we are a different breed of people. I just don't feel that way. I feel like there are no restraints on age. There are no reasons why it has to be a certain way. I arguably feel healthier now than I did in my 20s. I feel energetic. There's not activities that I feel like I shouldn't do because of my age. And I want people to see and feel this because if you're younger, especially, you might have an idea, a fear of getting older because you think you should be doing certain things and be a certain way, and it doesn't sound fun. And it seems like people are losing their life as they age. But that has nothing to do with the numbers. It's a choice. And every morning, every day, I'm making the choice to not feel old in the sense of what people say, to not let conventional society expectations of how I should be or where I should be or what I should have achieved define me. And I realize the more people I speak to, it's incredible how many people actually created and found the lives they wanted from their 40s and 50s. We don't hear those stories because it's a lot sexier to say someone's 22 and has it figured out or has this amazing success. But too, the other side of that often is that they don't have the mental and the emotional resilience because they haven't had the experience to deal with that level of responsibility, that level of expectation. And I can tell you now, as 39, that you feel ready. That yes, in many ways, you want to continue to have freedom and excitement and just enjoy life, but you feel ready. You feel like you can finally handle the weight of the world, but it doesn't feel like a weight because you've also dropped a lot of the emotional baggage that is actually heavier than the weight of the world. And that is things like people's expectations, your own ideas about where you should be and how you should be doing it. I mean, this is why in our parents' generations and our grandparents, they had their midlife crisis at my age, maybe even a little earlier, because didn't have the space to explore this and to really see there are other ways for me to be. And then at the other side of that midlife crisis, they can find themselves sometimes. Sometimes they stick, in forever Robin Hood era, but for the most part, it's possible. Thank you so much for listening. If this has inspired you, if you have been inspired of any of the episodes, to be honest, let me know in a review. Let me know if this is making a difference for you. Sometimes when you're on this side of the mic, you don't see. And I know that you probably have this experience too, where you don't see the impact you're having, the lives you're changing, the world that you are putting your footprint on. So I would appreciate, consider it my birthday gift, a little bit of a bribe here, to leave a review to let me know if this episode or any others has impacted you or inspired you in any way. And I will see you in the next one.